Hey guys, this is GG,
Oh, hi, Dean. How you doing? It's good to see you again, Dean. Hi, guys. Sit
and I want to apologize because I never changed it to 7 o'clock, and some of you guys were waiting patiently. And today's subject, no habla inglés. You're gonna go to headquarters. No habla inglés. What does that mean? I don't know. That's why I brought uh, my brother right here, uh, Dwight Flight. Dwight Flight is here, and he's going to talk about white English speaking Jehovah's Witnesses. You are being replaced. And when you go visit headquarters, no habla inglés. Some people think that's stupid. That's crazy talk. Is that crazy?
Hey, if my last night in the chat section on Rick Fearon, everybody was saying that my microphone kept going bad. So if my mic goes up, mention it to me. I think it goes down by itself. I got an old ass computer. I'm Mexican. That's why my name is Dwight Flight. Hey, but you know what? I came of age of consciousness. I came of age of consciousness surrounding when they crucified my Lord. But in this life, somewhere around the 200th birthday of our country, at the bicentennial, that's when my memory was real sharp. We had a great year. The Jehovah's Witnesses were saying that the world was going to end. I remember my mom was talking to me about it, 1975. But I remember baseball was so great back then. You had the Oakland A's, the Dodgers, the Cincinnati Reds, baseball was beautiful. The country was full of Chevrolet, apple pie, baseball.
Kmart was busy.
We had a great country, and I was listening to these Jehovah's Witnesses around me, and I was only 5, 6, 7 years old, and I remember how they were so full of crap. They were so full of them. They were saying the world was going to end, but you and I, we were living in the golden years. Mm-hmm. It was the golden years. We lived in Paradise Earth. It was called Yuma in 1975, 1976, the bicentennial. And remember, we used to walk around saying, "Catch the spirit." Catch the spirit of 76. But that's just to give you some background on what we saw. And one of the things I saw, Mom would take us to the Kingdom Hall. And I remember every year we would get the Awake around November or December, and we would turn it to the last page, the back page. And maybe some of your comment section remembers that in the 70s and the 60s, Watchtower would publish in the Awake magazine all of the conventions coming up in the summertime. And I remember distinctly, we would go to the Spanish. Mm-hmm. So we would look up the Spanish, and the closest one to us, there wasn't one in San Diego. It was either in Van Nuys.
Los Angeles.
It was in the LA Coliseum, huh?
Dodger Stadium.
No. Before the Dodger Stadium, it was in LA Coliseum. Mom would go to that one, the LA Coliseum. We didn't go. We went to Dodger Stadium. It was in Spanish. Mm-hmm. But if you go back to the Awake magazine, they would have the conventions all over the country. And let's say in Montreal, they would say French speaking in parentheses. Correct. And maybe in New Jersey or Florida, they would have a Italian or Portuguese, wherever there was a strong concentration of that language. But maybe there was only one Portuguese. Maybe there was only 1 or 2 Italian. Mm-hmm. And maybe there was only like 5 or 6 Spanish in the whole nation.
Yeah, Miami, Houston. Yeah.
What I'm saying now, it's over for the English. They can't publish the Awake magazine with the Kingdom Halls anymore, with the conventions, because the majority would be in Spanish.
Spanish.
My contention is in the United States of America, in 2024 and beyond, English is a dying language. You're being replaced. That's why they don't publish all the convention dates, because they would show a majority in Spanish now. And that's what I was trying to tell the English-speaking brothers. I go, they say that the Jehovah's Witnesses are dying. No, they're not. They're not dying. You're dying. You know how they say, do your research, do your research. And we always say, no, 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 no. You are the research, you idiots. You
You're
are
the
the
reason.
research. You're being researched. Remember, like in the
Mhm,
Twilight Zone, when it goes, Dr. So-and-so, don't go in there, the book. It's a
mhm,
cookbook to serve man. It was a play on words.
mhm,
To serve man was a cookbook. And that's what we're saying here.
mhm.
The Jehovah's Witnesses aren't going down. They're just changing the language. And I think I sent you a picture today where the leader of our country says it. Can you read it? I'll have to put my reading glasses on.
Dementia Joe refers to illegal aliens as voters. He says that speaking Spanish is America's future.
What we're saying here is that the watchtower, this is the plans of the United Nations to turn the United States into like a form of Canada, a third world country. Like, for instance, in Quebec, French and English are the both official language.
Mhm.
What they're planning, they're telling us this. They're saying in the near future, America will be a Spanish-speaking country. They're giving up the ship, is what they're giving us the plan. And what we're saying is that we, as Jehovah's Witness, we have a unique vantage point. The Jehovah's Witness leadership, they had people, NGOs at the United Nations. They heard these plans. This has been a long time coming. And Watchtower knew. They would go back to the governing body, goes, hey, by such and such year, the Spanish-speaking nation, the United States will be a Spanish-speaking nation. It will overcome the white population and it will overcome the black population. The black population is going to be a super minority. The whites are going to be a minority. The Spanish-speaking people are going to be a majority. And if you go to any store where they speak Spanish, when you and I were kids, when we were talking about that awake in the 70s, everybody was making an effort to speak Spanish. The people that work where they speak Spanish, they get angry at you if you speak English. In the United States today, there's a hostile resentment to anybody of Latin descent who speaks to them in English. It is an invasion. It is a war, spiritual war, or a cold war. But the Spanish-speaking people hate you, the ones that don't want to learn English. They really think this is their country and you gringos don't belong. And Watchtower knew this. They knew the culture was coming here. That's why you and I were elders when we were like 24 years old. You were an elder when you were 20. And then the white brothers that you talk on the Rick Fearon show, they never made it to elders.
Mhm,
If you go to the Spanish congregation, the elders and the circuit overseers,
mhm.
they're young, Hispanic. But you go to a white congregation, English-speaking congregation, you're 40 or 50 years old before you make an elder.
Yeah, and listen, we're not picking on anybody here, but Rick Farron never became an elder. In the last video, Joe came on, and I thought he was an elder. I forgot he had already told me. And Joe and Joe from Joe and Fran says, "I was never an elder." Okay. Mike and Kim. Mike was never an elder. The first guy that commented on the chat section, King of Dots, he was a lifer. I mean, his wife was a regular pioneer, and she was pounding the pavement, and they were doing a lot of work. He was never allowed to be an elder, and I'm not knocking them, but why is it like when I was an elder, I was 24. There was a lot of young men in Southern California, all Spanish brothers, 24, 25, 26. They were all being named elders. The push was on the Spanish. They had already given up on the English. Yeah, Watchtower is my opinion.
It was part of the New World Order plan.
Mhm,
Watchtower knew about it. Watchtower knew about it. Remember when Richard Nixon got in trouble?
mhm.
The people, those people that were after Nixon, they go, "What did you know and when did you know?" That's the question we need to ask Watchtower. What did they know and when did they know when they became NGOs? What did they know about the New World Order? What did they know about the new system of things? What did they know about the jabby yabby? What did they know about migration replacement? What did you know and when did you know it? My contention is that the Watchtower has always been at the center of all these debates in globalism. They have been at the center debate of the vaccinations. They have been at the center debate of killing nationalities. For example, a big question is nationalism versus globalism. I contend that the first non-governmental organization, the first image of the beast, was the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, when they went to the Supreme Court to argue that they can't do the Pledge of Allegiance. They were the first image of the beast.
Hey, I want to go back to this language thing because Watchtower was not like, we had a contemporary, Enuma Shannon Gunderman, regular pioneer, white guy, pale white, looks like Joe right there on the picture. He looked just like him, white as him. He had all the credentials, dad's an elder, but they wouldn't name him an elder until he was like 35, I think. He wasn't named till way late, and he had all of the credentials. What I'm saying is, in growing up, looking back now, the Jehovah's Witnesses would not, as a whole, name young men as elders, and they would have it just wouldn't happen. They would wait till like they're 29, 35. But in the Spanish, they were grooming them at a young age, and they were grooming the Spanish for growth. Instead of working on the English and saying, hey, we have a good thing going with the English. We're going to expand our religion, grow it. And we're going to teach all of these people in the Spanish, we're going to teach them English, and we're going to bring them all over. Watchtower purposely did not bring the English-speaking, first, second generation Mexicans or Hispanics. They didn't bring them over to the fold. Like, you stay in the Spanish. Instead of saying, hey, let's all come into the English and let's teach everybody English. Let's raise the tide and raise the ships, right? No, they were keeping everybody in the Spanish. So much so that a lot of the people in the English congregation, they were also jumping ship, and they would go to the Spanish congregation. But so looking at it from a business perspective, like, because Watchtower, they say Watchtower's a corporation. Okay. Then why, as a corporation, would you not teach these Jehovah's Witnesses to speak English? Why would you not get these young men and women and bring them into the English congregation and make the English congregation stronger and have more growth?
Gilbert, your audience won't believe this.
Mm-hmm.
But the words you just said in the Spanish congregation in Yuma, Arizona, when we were kids, in 1978, and maybe the generation before us, we were already saying this. We were asking ourselves this. Why aren't we allowed to go into the English Kingdom Hall? We used to have the Mexican Kingdom Hall. We couldn't use the English Kingdom Hall. Remember, we were segregated? And we were saying that, but we were growing way faster than them. But we didn't have the money. The English had the money in the New Kingdom Hall. We were the poor. We were separated, but we were growing 10 times faster than them. But we were asking them, and do you remember what would happen in the Jehovah's Witness circle when one of our Spanish brothers moved to the English? Remember how we used to discriminate against that brother and look down upon them?
Yeah.
When they embraced American culture, they were derided in the Jehovah's Witness organization. Maybe not by Watchtower, but on the ground by Joe Bow Publisher. Here's another thing. Let me put it in simple English because we've been speaking Spanish. Look at what Fixing My Faith says. Can you put it up?
Oh, yeah. What, this one?
Yeah. Can you read it?
It says, it talks about growth projections. The U.S. will be the largest Spanish-speaking country in the world by 2050.
Okay. What me and Gilbert are saying is that Watchtower knew this 70 years ago. Watchtower knew it 70 years ago, 2050. They knew this in the 1970s, 20 years from 2050, 50 years. That's why we're saying, what did Watchtower know and when did they know it?
They knew it in the 50s. The New World. They already knew it.
So what Bert is saying, Watchtower already knew it. We thought they were talking about paradise earth. No, they're talking about a one world government. They're talking about globalism and migration replacement. And one thing the white people have to understand, and the black people, one thing the white people and the black people have to understand, when the Chinese and the Mexicans take over, it doesn't go good for you guys.
Let's talk about Black Americans. Black Americans are so almost like 99% identical to whites Americans. I mean, the only difference is the pigmentation of their skin, but they all like the same food. They all like barbecue. You know, they love to tailgate. They love NFL, NBA. Black and white America it's already homogenized. But here's
In
the
the
point.
culture, in the culture.
In the culture, the only difference is the color of the skin.
And Mexican Americans too.
Mexican Americans too. You know, it's but what happens is we have a new group of black people coming in, black skinned people, and they're coming from Niger, they're coming from Africa, right? They're coming from the Dominican Caribbean, and they don't get along with our Black American brothers. It's not. Same thing with the Spanish. You know, I don't get along with the Mexicans that are coming across. Like I get at work, I don't like them. I at work I make a big stink. You know, at work, Jesse, they play they don't do it now, but like at 6 a.m. they're there and they play in the vans. All these everybody. So I go into this building. It's a big commercial building, and I drive the van in there, and there's like 20 vans. Everybody's loading up. For, we deliver for medical supplies. But anyway, here's the point. You know what the Mexicans were doing? They were playing their stupid. It's not even music, man. It's trash. The norteño music. So you know what I would do? They would play it really loud, and nobody would say anything. All the white people, all the blacks, they would just shut up. They would just like keep working. So I went and I would play Bach, and I would play Mozart. And the van I have has a really loud system, and it'd be like Beethoven, na 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 na. I just blast that shit, and then I'd be playing classical music. I'm not playing white music. I'm playing white music, and I'll play Mozart 40. That's my favorite. But now guess what they do? They tone it down. See. So the problem I have, like with my Mexican brothers, is they don't subscribe to the Mexican creed, which is amongst nation, amongst men, the respect for individual rights is peace. So there's a fight. I have it all the time at work, and it's just like, and I remind them we're not in Mexico, and I'm not fighting with anybody, but it's just show some damn respect. And I have this problem with my Mexican immigrant coworkers. The point I'm trying to make is that they don't homogenize. They haven't accepted the culture. And the blacks understand this too. If you're a black American, Jehovah, you're watching this, it too. The people from Niger don't like you. The people from the Caribbean don't like you. It's not the same. And you are being replaced. They're even trying to replace our black brothers and sisters.
And look, when we say they don't like you,
mm-hmm.
They don't like us as Americans. We're an exceptional country. You and I are exceptional people. Mm-hmm. Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump, you and I, our black brothers, our white brothers. We're an exceptional people, exceptional people on the planet. You could see this even from the other day. There was this guy named Ben, that conservative guy, Ben. He's a Jewish guy.
Shapiro?
Ben Shapiro. And he was talking about the Second Amendment with that British guy. Mm-hmm. Not Nigel Farr. He's a reporter from, and he does the Britain's Got Talent. I forget his name, but he's the gentleman, Piers Morgan. And Piers Morgan is interviewing him. And Piers Morgan is very anti-Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. He's from Britain, where you kill everybody using a steak knife, not with a handgun. Mm-hmm. And what they do is he was arguing, and Ben Shapiro had a pocket constitution. A lot of us Americans walk around with pocket constitutions. And he waived it. He was talking to him about the Second Amendment. And he derided him. He goes, I don't care about your little book. And right there, Piers Morgan committed suicide in the argument. Because that little book is everything to us, the Americans. The people that you enumerated a few minutes ago. It means everything to us. It's something a Mexican immigrant can't understand. It's something a Canadian citizen cannot understand. It's something a British citizen cannot understand. It is unique to us, the American. The Bill of Rights is in there. It means everything to us. So what do? You flood the population of the United States and you dilute the love of our Constitution. And that in lies where they hate us. They can't beat us on thought and argument, point by point. So what they're going to do is flood us. And Watchtower knew about this way back then because they couldn't stand nationalism. That's why I prefaced my point saying we came of age during the bicentennial in the age of strong nationalism. And so Watchtower always knew that they can't survive as an organization during nationalism because they don't stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. They don't love the United States of America. So Jehovah's Witnesses are like a vampire to the cross with nationalism. They hate nationalism. That's why they must do everything in their power to support globalism. It is the opposite of the spectrum of nationalism. Jehovah's Witnesses hate nationalism with all of their heart and soul. They hate nationalism more than they love Jehovah himself.
So let me show you something. This is why you need to understand about the what's happening. No habla inglés. You're being replaced. The white boys on the top of Watchtower ain't going anywhere. But in Yuma, Arizona, all of the white boys have been disfellowshipped or they're being kicked out. But hold on a second. There's a guy in Yuma over there. He comes from the Dominican Republic, elder. He's a superstar. And you bring people, illegal alien elders, or whatever, just people coming in. And guess what happens to the Kingdom Hall? They get sold. The white brothers are not there to defend their Kingdom Hall that they built. All of the illegals and all of the immigrants that they brought in that hate this country, that hate that little book that you talk about, are now giving Watchtower the vote. Because if you bring all of the elders in that Kingdom Hall, there's 3-4 congregations in that Kingdom Hall in Yuma. You bring in all the elders, 5-6 pasty white brothers, old. They're outnumbered by a whole bunch of Dominicans, Venezuelans, Mexicans, and they all vote to give up the Kingdom Hall and just give all the money to Watchtower. So you're being replaced.
Gilbert, listen. Let's just say this. You could go back to 1976. Our Kingdom Hall on Avenue A in Yuma. The deed belonged to who?
Well, it belonged to the Congroves. They gave it to the corporation of the North Congregation.
Okay, it was a local. The deed was in a local hands, correct?
Correct. And
the corporation were white boys.
One of your employees, Lamonte Blanchot, was in charge of that corporation.
Okay. Now, you replace it with a Dominican, a Puerto Rican, maybe 2 or 3 years in the country, a brother from Libya, a brother from Iran, and a brother from China. Do they even know what a deed means? It won't matter to him. You get a brother from China. He's a communist. He doesn't know what a deed is. They don't have private property over there. They don't know about crawling in the attic. They don't know about the concrete that went into it. They don't know the sweat. They have no idea of their past, of their history. So to them, to forfeit the deed over to Watchtower will mean nothing. Now, Vern said something in Fixing My Faith. Go back to it. I don't know if it's him or his wife, where he said something about it won't happen in your lifetime. What does it say?
No, he didn't say that. He said, according to Google, it won't happen in your lifetime.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that is uniquely not an American thought. That is uniquely not an American. Americans don't think that way. The way we Americans think is we secure the blessings of freedom for ourselves and our posterity. The unique thing, this is why I say we're an exceptional people. Because we're not Google. We're Americans. We're better than Google.
Mhm.
The pot cannot be better than the potter. America built Google. Google is subordinate to America. We secure the blessings of freedom for ourselves and our posterity. So it doesn't matter if it doesn't happen in our lifetime. It's going to happen to our children and grandchildren.
Mhm.
Hell no. If it ain't, God loved his son so much, and his son loved his father. You have to love other people more than yourself.
Mhm.
Therein lies the essence of Christianity. Just because you're not going to be around means you can rape America. We have to keep America rolling because Keith
Mhm.
Richards won't be able to enjoy it in future generations. You know,
Correct.
he's going to live forever. Mhm.
And that's one of the things I got to give it to, like, the Catholics, because the Jehovah's Witnesses, they kick out the white, the white elders. They all been kicked out because of craziness. But what happens in the Catholic Church, people know that there's corruption. People know that there's problems in the Vatican, but they still have a strong hold on their religion on a local level. For example, our cousins in Santa Ana, they agree with you. They agree with everybody about the things that they're being said about the Catholics in the Vatican, but they have a strong hold on their church on the local level. Same thing with our aunts in the both Catholic churches in Yuma, where they know about the pedophiles, but they're proud that they've driven those guys out. Like, get the hell out of here. So with it, but I'm just saying that the foundation of the Jehovah's Witness church religion, it drives away all of the white men. And what can they do? The moment they speak up, they're disfellowshipped. So it's a very bad situation. So now we understand why Watchtower may have instituted this shunning policy. They needed to have a mechanism to be able to get rid of elders that knew too much, and why? So that way they could take over.
Gilbert, in every organization, in every, well, not, I don't know if every, but
Mhm.
in totalitarian organizations, many times, better said,
Mhm.
because a historian might be in the comment section and he'll correct me.
Mhm.
Many times there's a crystal knot, a night of bloody knives,
Mhm.
or the night of fire or broken glass. Uh, in the National Socialist era, there was a night crystal knot. There was a night of the long knives. In the Soviet Union, there was times where Stalin had to do a cleanse, a purge. Mao Zedong, he did cleanses and purges.
Mhm.
And they're always eliminate. And this is the thing about totalitarians. They always go cannibalism. I shouldn't say always. Many times they go cannibalism because there is no decree. There's no constitution for power succession. The organization must survive. Ankar must survive. And so what do? They eliminate. Everybody ruthlessly fights to get to the top. So what happens is what you're saying. Jehovah's Witnesses did all these bad predictions. The leadership should all be removed just for lying under God's name.
Mhm.
But what they do is they eliminate anybody who can put that argument together.
Through the shunning arrangement,
Mhm.
through the disfellowshipping arrangement,
You eliminate their freedom of speech.
like Ray France.
Yes, you
So
eliminate.
this is where people need to understand the story of Ray France is no different than all the stories in history, because King Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. So whether we're talking about the Russians, the Chinese, Pol Pot, all that stuff, it's all the same. It's an authoritarian regime, and there's nothing new under the sun. It's they all use the same battle tactic.
And here's the thing. Here's a mathematical reality. Let's say the Jehovah's Witnesses are not growing. They will grow. Believe me, they will grow. Here's the thing. They're going to grow on the land, on the soil that you fertilized, you white people. You have to, I'm not trying to be hateful. I'm not trying to call racism nothing. You've been replaced by a people that are going to have 10 babies, 8 babies, 5 babies, 6 babies. You didn't have any babies, 1 or 2 babies. The Jehovah's Witnesses that are coming over from the third world, they're going to have 4 or 5 babies. The Jehovah's Witness will experience maybe a baby boom next year or the year coming up. As we get closer to the date that Fixing My Faith says, Jehovah's Witness will experience a baby boom.
And with the changes coming forward, it would be favorable for them. It would be no, I take it back. The changes would be tailored for the new people that will build on the ashes of the white Jehovah's Witnesses in America.
Yeah, and all we're trying to say, hey guys, you guys want to shut down the Jehovah's Witnesses? That's good. We're behind you and we're with you. We support you. But that's not where we're going to put all our energy. The people that you want to use to take them down, the Jehovah's Witnesses are in league with them. They are part of the world. Mm-hmm. Didn't you hear Michael Jackson? We are the world. Jehovah's Witnesses are the world. They work at the farm. They work at the police station. They work at the fire department. They work at City Hall. They work at YouTube. They work on Google. The Jehovah's Witnesses have infiltrated everything. You're not going to knock them down. You're not going to knock them down. As a matter of fact, they're going to knock you down and replace you with brown people, Caribbean people, African people, and people of third world. You've been replaced. That's all. We're just telling you what's happening. We're telling you how the game is being played right now in the United States because we saw it here in Yuma in the 1970s.
And you will, and also you, Jehovah's Witnesses that are watching this that create content, don't think that a Jehovah's Witness that works in YouTube ain't going to cancel you. Don't you think that a Jehovah's Witness, and Barbara Anderson talked about it, how there was a woman that worked, a Jehovah's Witness woman that worked for the State Department, and she would give privy, information to the president of the Watchtower, Don Adams, and Don Adams told Barbara Anderson, "You see this lady? She's one of our best assets." Because whenever there was a legal problem, say in another country, the State Department got involved with anything Jehovah's Witness, she would give the lawyers and the president the heads up. And what did she do it for? She didn't do it for money. She was serving Jehovah, because their loyalty is not with "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America." The Jehovah's Witness pledge allegiance to the Watchtower first. That's why they don't pledge allegiance to the flag. So if you make YouTube videos, there's a Jehovah's Witness who works for YouTube, and he's going to click that button and he's going to maybe get rid of all of your notifications or a good portion of them. He's going to put you down as a right-wing extremist, right? He might tell one of his brothers or sisters, flag this video, and then when I go to work, I'm going to put it down that he's a right-wing extremist. And they're going to censor you. That's what you're talking about, the infiltration. Why? Because the Jehovah's Witnesses do not recite the words, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the Republic."
There's nobody more racist on earth than the Jehovah's Witness. There's nobody more, there's no bigger sinners than the Jehovah's Witnesses. There's nobody more traitorous and cowardly than the Jehovah's Witnesses. They'll backstab you at any time of the day. And the white people are being backstabbed. Life goes on. You could have put in a lifetime of service and all your sweat energy. They don't care. They don't care if you die on the side of the road like a dog. They won't even talk to you. They won't go to your funeral. Nothing. And there's going to be an illegal alien to take your seat at the Kingdom Hall. It's like that Elvis song. Remember, In the Ghetto? And the little baby boy was dying in the ghetto in the streets. And he picked a gun. He stole a car, but he didn't get far in the ghetto. And then another day was over and the mom was giving birth to another baby boy. That's what Jehovah's Witnesses are. All your hard work, white people, Americans, Mexican Americans, African Americans, all the work that we did, it meant nothing. If we were in the Jehovah's Witness world, in the whole world, when somebody dies, they have an epitaph on their tombstone. When a Jehovah's Witness, the world doesn't even know you lived. You're anonymous. You meant nothing. You could have given your life and your blood. You could have done a sacrifice like JP said last night. Watchtower doesn't care. We don't care. They'll give everything to an illegal alien invader.
Now, man, we already passed the 30-minute mark and we haven't gotten to the second
Go back
subject.
to the picture. Yeah, no. Go back to the picture, the first one, because a lot of people didn't see that. That's a microcosm right now, and this is what we're saying. What does Watchtower know, and when did they know it? They were members of the United Nations NGO. They knew this day was coming. That's why they named all those Mexican Americans and Spanish speaking. They hedged their money on Spanish speaking elders.
Mhm. Correct. Let's go to the second subject. Dr. Peter McCullough reveals how much doctors were bribed to push COVID vaccines, and leaked insurance documents backed him up. I didn't get it. It's too late for me to put the picture, but in that article, guys, like they were getting a 75% bonus. No. They were getting a $250 bonus if they hit 75% vaccine rate, which means if you're a doctor and you had 1,000 patients, if you vaccinated 750 out of your 1,000 people that were in your registry, like everybody had a list, then you would get $250 a person. And it started like at a low number, like at $20, and the higher the percentage you had, the bigger the payout was. And that explains why when a lot of people went to doctors' offices, they were just pushing it. Like if you went to the doctor's office and you had an ingrown toenail, they would ask you, "Did you get a vaccine?" "No, I have an ingrown toenail." Why were they pushing it? And that article right there shows you the internal documents and the percentages and the amount of money. And we're talking we're talking huge. $250 may not sound like a lot, but when you got 1,000 patients,
Gilbert, medicine is not enumerated in the Constitution. Maybe somebody says, well, it is in the general welfare clause, but to provide for the general welfare. But it doesn't enumerate it like our First Amendment of the Bill of Rights on the freedom of religion. The the Constitution specifically enumerates religion as a freedom, fundamental freedom, an inalienable right that us Americans have.
Mm-hmm.
And medicine is not enumerated. Abortion is not enumerated. Religion is. What we're saying is, listen, we know there's no separation between science and state. We know there's no separation between medical and state. The only separation that our communist brothers and sisters have is church and state. They demand church and state. What we're saying, okay, you communists, if there's any whistleblower and you know that churches were involved in receiving any money, try to be a whistleblower on this. You're ratting out everybody who's having sex with everybody. You guys know what color chonies everybody wears. You know everybody Donald Trump sleeps with. You know everything under the sun. Is there one whistleblower who knows if Watchtower received any money? Because they pushed this jabby yabby.
That's all we're saying.
Yeah, that's the question. What did they know, and what did they know?
And did Watchtower get the same the leaked insurance documents? Did Watchtower get the same payback from Pfizer and others?
We don't know.
We don't know. But why?
There has to be a whistleblower. Somebody knows something.
Mm-hmm. Well, hold on a second. If a TikTok influencer was getting money, some girl, TikTok influencer, you mean to tell me that the Catholic Church, the LDS Church, the Jehovah's Witnesses weren't getting it? And Watchtower, were they? Let me ask you this: Watchtower was not obeying the HIPAA laws. I thought they were supposed to be faithful to Caesar, but they wanted to know. Watchtower wanted to know your vaccination status, but they didn't care if you had diabetes. Think about that. Watchtower HIPAA policy. Well, we don't care if you have diabetes or eczema, or we don't care if you have, gastroenteritis. All these, they didn't care. All they wanted to know is if you were vaccinated, because they were taking an accounting. Why would they need an accounting? Well, now we're coming to find out that accounting in some doctors' offices would result in a payout. So we're not saying that Watchtower got paid out, but why would they want to know?
And Gilbert, listen, that is the physical question, but there's also a spiritual element, a spiritual side. May I mention the spiritual side?
Yeah.
I would suggest that even if a Jehovah's Witness knows an answer, is a whistleblower,
Mhm.
I would suggest that he's so close to hell on Judgment Day that even if a whistleblower were to come out, nobody would listen to him.
Mhm.
It would have been better if his knowledge were never born. It would be better that he never knew it, because nobody will believe him. Because
Okay.
it is so hard to fathom. It's so hard to fathom that a Christian would participate in such action.
Okay, Jesse. So what you're saying is this: Tony Morris. Tony Morris's son just came out with the video. He left Bethel and he has the documents, and Watchtower was receiving money. Let's just pretend that's the news. Anthony Morris's son becomes a whistleblower and tells everybody that Watchtower received money from Pfizer. Let's just say that. What you're saying is nobody really cares.
He would be like a dog in China that can't bark. Nobody would care about him. Nobody would know about him. He's going to end up at somebody's lunch. This is how loathsome he is. The world would not care about him. And what do you expect Judgment Day has waiting for him?
Yeah.
For time and in eternity, he has condemned himself. He has betrayed mankind and humanity. Jesus says one has no greater love than to give his life for his brother, not to coerce his brother to go against his conscience and against his beliefs. So if a whistleblower knows it, it's better that they don't come out. I wish they do, but I don't think anybody will believe a Jehovah's Witness. They're so wrapped up in misinformation and disinformation that they don't know what lie is and truth. They don't know what yes, yes, and no, no means. They're so far removed from Jesus Christ that they can't know the truth.
So they're in a situation. I'm not saying they are this, but when Jesus said that Judas, it was better that he had never been born. He had put himself in a situation where Judas Iscariot put himself in a situation where he was a dead man walking. Benedict Arnold put himself in a situation where
He
for
couldn't
time,
even,
for time indefinite, nobody would name their kid Benedict, and people with the last name Arnold would think twice about, say, yeah, maybe we should change it. Hitler was a common name in Germany.
Yeah.
Not no more. And that's what you're saying with these whistleblowers.
No, a Jehovah's Witness whistleblower, he carries no weight because the Watchtower is so dirty.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the evildoer, the guy who was possessed, and he wanted to go with Jesus?
I'm the one that told you that.
And he wanted to be in the ministry. But he
No.
was filthy.
No. The guy was possessed by a demon, and the apostles went to him, and they says, we cannot get rid of this demon. So all 12 tried. And Jesus says, what's your name? And he said that this one has to be taken out by prayer and fasting. And he cured him. I'm sorry. So go ahead.
And Jesus said later on after dinner, they got to know each other and they were talking. He wanted to follow Jesus, be part of Jesus's disciples. Jesus said no. And that's the position a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses have to understand, that they risk being in. Their organization is so dirty and so alienated from Jesus Christ, and yet they carry the moniker Christian congregation, but they engage in non-Christian behavior. They would be kin to that demon-possessed man. They are so filthy. They're carrying blasphemies against Christ day and night, nonstop throughout the planet, closing up the churches, forcing this thing. And if they received any money, didn't Judas Iscariot receive money also to betray his Lord? If the Watchtower received any money, they would be in line like Judas Iscariot.
That's true. And listen, I'm just going to bring up, like, there has been Jehovah's Witnesses who've been high up there. Let's just mention Barbara Anderson, right? But the difference is that she wasn't a power player like a title with she didn't have the badge, right? District overseer, zone overseer. She was just an employee, and she came out as a whistleblower. Okay, the reason I mentioned that is this: in YouTube, I think we had this conversation. Maybe one or two Gilead graduates have made videos, but they disappear into the sunset. I tell you that there's no district overseers giving in the forefront. There's no circuit district overseers, zone overseers. There's no Gilead graduates on YouTube exposing the Watchtower. Raymond France was an exception. He was a diamond in the rough. And the reason I say that is because, like in Hebrews says, right, the world was not worthy of these great men and women. A lot of our Jehovah's Witness contemporaries, they're not worthy of making a video on YouTube. They're not worthy of having a website. They're not worthy of praising God or praising Jesus. And that's why you don't see district overseers, zone overseers. That's why you don't see Gilead graduates taking the lead. A Gilead graduate I knew, he just run to the hills. He spoke his piece, but he didn't take phone calls. He didn't help people that were in need. The son of Jezebel ran like a freaking coward that he was. And he said, "How could you say that? You were a Gilead graduate. You took the lead. You were happy to take the lead and give all the speeches and all the assemblies. But when push came to shove and YouTube gave you a chance and the internet gave you a chance, you cower like a goddamn rat."
See, I told you. This is why Jesus is God. There's no mortal living in Palestine 2,000 years ago. No mortal man could have said that the first shall be last. That the greatest one of love is the one who gives his life for that of his brother.
Mm-hmm.
A person who really is a Christian gives his life. A person
Mm-hmm.
who's really a nationalist, for example, gives his life. For example, when we sing the "Oh, Say Can You See," when we sing that song, what are we talking about? We're talking about men and women, American men and women, who, when the British were bombing the fort that was holding the American flag, they could not knock it down. Why? Because every time they killed the person holding it, another patriot went up and held the flag up so it wouldn't touch the ground all night long. That is the kind of conviction. That's the kind of courage built in America. That's the kind of courage Americans should have. That's the kind of courage Christians should have. The kind of courage that Jesus talked about when he says, "Hey, you want to follow me? Pick up your cross and follow me." He didn't say, "I'm going to build you a beach house." No, they're counting their chickens. They're counting their eggs before they hatch, these people. They don't understand Christianity. They are cowards. That's why Jesus says the last shall be first. That's why you don't see district overseers. That's why you don't see circuit overseers doing that. Because they're cowards.
That's why you saw last night, you didn't see on the 6 screens a circuit or district overseer. You saw a girl who was shunned by her mother while she was giving birth. And her mother said, after reading this magazine that just came out, "I can't go in good conscience to the hospital while you're having a baby. And none of the elders in her congregation are fighting the good fight. It's a pregnant woman who's alone in the hospital because her husband's at home with the children, and she's alone in the hospital. She's the one that gets to speak about truth. She's the one that gets to speak about freedom. But the Gilead graduates, the zone overseers, no, and none of them do. And
this is why I told you. This is why I told you Jesus is God. Because he says they have already received their full reward. That means, Gilbert, this is all they got in life. Judas Iscariot only got 30 pieces of silver. That's all he got. He received his full reward. The Gilead graduate that you talked about, he already got the applause at the convention. He already got the praise. He's already received his reward. They didn't esteem the Christ. They didn't esteem the suffering of the cross. They esteemed the applause at a district convention. They already received the worst.
That's what I'm saying about Raymond France he was a diamond in the rough. Right. He really was a diamond in the rough, and he was the camel that got through the eye of the needle.
Exactly.
But,
Now, Gilbert, look at what Trudy says, and she says something very important, and I've pondered it, and I think we've talked about it. No, the one before it says, it does not surprise me. It does not surprise me. Watchtower pushed the jabby yabby to the extreme. I wonder if there will be lawsuits in the near future. Well, let me tell you something. A lot of nations and a lot of medical organizations, worldly organizations, are talking about myocarditis and pericarditis, and they're talking about vaccine-related injuries. Some nations are already outlawing or targeting, and some manufacturers quit manufacturing the jabby yabby, certain jabby yabbies. Mm-hmm. But you go to the Watchtower Index at jw.org, you won't find news of that. Mm-mm. You won't find news of that. So that gives you, Watchtower is avoiding it. They're talking about the most superficial fluff in the history of mankind, when they participated in the greatest research on man in mankind's history. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Watchtower is not going to talk about that article right there.
No. And Watchtower only quotes atheist and communist organizations. They do not quote Christians. They do not quote Americans. They only quote United Nations and Democrat and communist leaders. Go back, mark my words. They don't, anybody who has a conservative slant or bent, they're not neutral. They only quote leftist, progressive, communist organizations.
Wow, did you guys hear that? Yeah. And if you don't believe us, just go to jw.org.
Yeah.
And read a couple of articles.
Mm-hmm. Like my brother-in-law, Paul, he was always making love to NPR. And we would tell him, this was way back in the 80s. We would fight about it at dinner table. I said, they're a communist organization. No, they're not. We used to have bitter fights. Mm-hmm. Now it comes out they're one of the most biased news organizations. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you think the Jehovah's Witnesses will apologize to me here? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No. Is that all the news articles?
Just those. I think that's enough, those two.
Yeah.
So when you go visit headquarters, nobody will speak English. Well, that's a stretch, but I could see where you can't work there if you don't speak Spanish. You have to be bilingual to work there.
Hey, Gilbert, there was a song in the 70s. I think it was Linda Ronstadt sang it. And she goes, let me tell you that it hurts so bad, so good. You make it hurt so good. And it was a song, I think it was Needles and Pens. I think it was. But it's sad. And I don't mean to be joking, have jocularity in this, because if it wasn't so sad, when I mentioned the brothers, our fathers that came before us in the Jehovah's Witness organization, that worked so hard to build their kingdom halls. And then if it gets sold to a Baptist church, if it gets sold to a McDonald's or a Pizza Hut or something else, and they did a dedication to Jehovah, when you dedicate a rock to somebody, don't you think they'll keep it for life and eternity? Especially Jehovah, who's supposed to be eternal. And it only lasts 20 to 30 years. Even the Catholic churches, they last for millennia. But the Jehovah,
because so 500 years ago, they were coming to the Americas, and all of the cities like San Diego, San Onofre, San Francisco, all the sand cities in California, they all have, every single one of them has a church. And almost everyone has endured 500 years.
Well, when was our church on Fort Yuma? Probably sometime in the 16 or 1700s.
Yeah.
And going to Tucson, San Javier del Bac.
Yeah, it's still there.
It's still there to this day.
Yeah, yeah, and by the airport in Phoenix, in Tempe. There's one there on the hill too. So here's the thing. So Jehovah only has a staying power of 20 years, 30 years, 40, 50 years. After 50 years, Jehovah can't keep his house. Has to sell it.
Even in New York City. Well, let's do the math in New York City. When did they build Watchtower?
Well, in the turn of 1800s, 1900s, 1920s,
sold
1930s. So less than 100 years. Less than 100 years. Anywhere between 50 to 100 years. Jehovah's main house
Mhm.
could not stand.
Mhm.
Wow.
Probably
Wow.
the generation of 1914 lasted longer than Jehovah's house on earth.
Hmm. That's for sure.
Mhm. You know what? The neat thing about you, there's a new dynamic. Did you see that video where they're
Mhm.
talking about don't talk to your apostate brothers and sisters, don't to
Yeah.
even burn their literature? Yeah, so because there's a lot of curiosity with the Jehovah's Witnesses because they don't know their history. They don't know who, like if a brother, you see these in Yuma, you see them going door to door. They're all Spanish people. I had never seen them before.
Hmm.
Even us Mexican Americans, we got replaced.
Hmm.
See, because we're not, tell them what our culture is. We're not Mexicans.
Hmm.
In Yuma, we're Mexican Americans. Like our dad was Mexican.
Well, it's like in the movie, was Stand By Me or something? Is it Stand By Me or
Mhm.
no? In the movie Selena, the Selena movie, where
Yeah.
Selena's dad says that we have to listen to Frank Sinatra
No, no,
and
no, no.
And Pedro
John
Infante.
Wayne and Pedro Infante.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You
John
have to
Wayne.
quote John Wayne and Pedro Infante.
Yeah.
Being
So
Mexican,
that's the problem that we have as Mexican Americans. We got to know both sides.
both sides. But these new Mexicans coming over, they don't want to know John Wayne.
They don't want to know.
They don't want to know Elvis Presley. They don't want to know George Washington. They
No.
don't want to know Raymond Franz.
Yeah.
They don't want to know Franklin. They don't want to know no history. The history is they're planting their flag here. It's called replacement. We're being
So
replaced. Yeah.
that's a good point. So because I know a lot of people, we have a lot of snowflakes that come and go and they watch a show. But so let's just stick with the Raymond France. The Jehovah's Witnesses that are coming in to the organization right now, they don't care about Raymond France. They don't. It doesn't mean anything to them.
1975 doesn't mean nothing to them. Nothing.
1914, either, for that matter.
1914 means nothing to the Jehovah's Witness knocking on your door today. I don't even know if they could say 1914 in Spanish.
Wow.
And it's not a stretch. It's not a stretch. Look, if anybody here in your comment section, how do you say the word freedom in Spanish? Something so basic. The word freedom doesn't exist in Spanish. Liberty does. It's libertad.
Mhm.
But the American form of freedom, it doesn't work. You have to transliterate it to the land of the free in Spanish. El dominio del libre. But there is no freedom.
Yeah.
So that's how come it's so important that people become American when they come here. Because we have a different culture, a different understanding. Words mean things. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go
so
ahead.
we're all being replaced, Gilbert. So we know the white brothers are being replaced, the Mexican American brothers are being replaced, and our African American brothers are being replaced. We're all being replaced. Everybody who built the kingdom halls in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s were being replaced by a new immigration, Spanish, French, Caribbean, all the third world countries. So, but
Wow.
the only reason we bring this is because we wanted to share with our brothers who think that the watchtower is going down. No, it's not. If anything, they might take off in a year. Because look, in California, let me give you an example. They're going to give immigrants housing, and what do you think you're going to do in the house, in the master bedroom suite? You're going to pop out some puppies. There's going to be a growth in the Jehovah's Witness. They're going to be making babies. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, so Mike and Kim and Rick Farron and who's that other guy? John Cedars, and they're all agreeing that Watchtower is going down. I don't know. Tell me if
they are right. They are right.
Okay.
The old world Watchtower is going down. The new world Watchtower is going up. It's a new world. They've embraced the new world agenda. They have their ticket in the new world. You and I don't.
And when the English brothers were told, don't have babies, the new Jehovah's Witnesses are having babies like rabbits.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because look, let's say you're an immigrant. Okay, let's say you come over from Mexico or El Salvador or Guatemala. and this month you get a visa, a work visa, and come January next year, you could get like $5,000, $6,000 for every baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you have 4 babies, let's say at 6, you can make 24,000. You can almost make a wage just on the babies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And make no mistake about it, when a Jehovah's Witness in 2024 knocks on your door, he's going to say, we're looking for Spanish-speaking people. You've been replaced.
Mm-hmm.
It's real simple. They made a mockery of our religion. Yeah.
And also the damage. This out, Jesse. The damage has already been done, because this is what Watchtower did by getting rid of all of the English-speaking people. They want to destroy America, and so all of the white people on YouTube. I'm not being racist, man, but I listen to you guys on YouTube. All the white people are damaged goods. Like 90% of you are damaged, burnt, mad, upset. You know, you hate God, you hate the country, you're just burnt. That's how you destroy a nation. And Watchtower participated in the destruction of the white man.
It's called demoralizing.
They demoralized.
What is moral? God.
Yeah.
So you de-God a nation.
You de-God a nation. Yeah. And Watchtower participated in it. And the evidence is there for you to see on YouTube. Everybody's hurt, damaged. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming them. I'm just seeing the effects. I'm I'm seeing the killing fields. You know,
Gilbert, and the proof is in this way. The proof is in the way. The old brothers would remember. The Awake magazine around November, December, that published all the conventions in the United States for the next year. Calendar year. There was a small parentheses after each city that denoted the language. Spanish was probably 5%. What we're saying today, they can't publish it because in the United States, the Spanish conventions would probably be close to 50%. The Spanish congregations, district and circuit assemblies would be probably 50%. Mm-hmm. California is gone. It would probably be 60 to 70% Spanish. Like the Cow Palace in San Francisco, they probably had 3 English and 1 Spanish. That's probably flipped now. It's probably 3 Spanish and 1 English.
And Jesse, it's the Mexican Americans, the second generation. People have been Americanized. The majority of them are leaving Watchtower, yes, in Spanish. But they're all being
replaced. They're being replaced. Every day there's a replacement. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the Jehovah's Witnesses coming over that border, they're coming over the border. You're going to see JW.org signs with the Red Cross and with different NGOs.
And check this out, Jesse. If I was Watchtower and I was an evil CEO, right, governing body member, what I would do is I would get 2 or 3 Spanish brothers from illegal aliens, whatever. And I would, let's say we're in a city like Phoenix or Texas, like Houston or something. And I wanted to sell that property. I wanted to move it. I would move those elders. They spoke English. They're still immigrants. I would move them into the English congregation. I would name them as elders. And you would have 3 bilingual elders in an English congregation. And then you would have 2. I would outnumber them. And I would have the English. I would have them booted out. The thing with Menlo Park is they did it really fast. It was, but you could do it stealth-like. So now you have an English-speaking congregation, all white people, and all of a sudden, 2-3 elders from Guatemala, who just so happen to be fluent in English, are assigned to your congregation. And now you have a 50-50 or 60-40 voting split. That's what I would do. I'd start whacking them one by one, and then take over the property. Yeah. Just steal it. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
If I was Dr. Evil. All right. If my parents were resurrected today, they would not even recognize the JW religion. They would be sick.
She's right. 100% correct. I hear everybody say the same thing.
Yeah. So we're not trying to be point the finger at everybody saying that they're wrong. No, we're just saying that take a look at it from a different point of view, and if we're wrong, give us your point of view. But
and here's the point. Here's the point. We live in the United States of America. There's freedom of religion. It's enshrined in our First Amendment. I don't care if you're Piers Morgan. I don't care if you're John Leguizamo or if you're Keith Olbermann or Charles Barkley. I don't care how much you hate nationalism. I don't care. What we're saying is freedom of religion is enshrined in the United States Constitution. So the path of least resistance is to work with freedom of religion and subjugate it in another form. And that's what they're doing. They're watering down America, and Watchtower knew it. They put all their money in the Spanish congregation decades ago. They knew this was a long planned scenario, and they participated in it. And so they're ready. You know how when you have a company that gets in on the initial public offering, and they put all their money on the initial public offering, and by the time everybody pumps their money, they sell, right? Watchtower was in on the New World Order in the initial public offering. In other words, when the New World Order was set in motion in the United Nations, Watchtower was there. They had their spies listening. They knew everything. That's why there's Spanish congregations, and what we're saying, this is just small. It goes into fiscal matters and all kinds of other things. But they knew that the Spanish were going to take over decades ago. And a lot of people hedged their bet that the Watchtower is going to be shut down. They're not. I know you get your news from John Cedars or you get your faith from Mike. I understand that. But it's not going to happen, dude. Watchtower is just going to get rid of you. You're the research. They're going to kick your ass out and replace you with a beaner from the third world.
And I said that years and years ago. I said that we were lab rats of the New World Order, of the Watchtower. And I said it. We were the researchers. They were looking at us like lab rats.
No, the researched.
But they were researching us.
Yes.
They were researching us, and like all of these young white boys were not in Yuma, were not getting named elder, but I was being named an elder at 24.
Gilbert, what happened when I was 27 and I wasn't an elder yet? How was I looked upon in our town?
Yeah, you were not spiritual.
Yeah, I was a ministerial servant for 7 years. For 7 years, I didn't make elder, and people were looking at me if I was like the witch of the East. Yeah,
it all makes sense now. In hindsight, that they were growing the Spanish. They were putting all of their eggs on this horse, and they were betting, we're going to destroy America, and we need to get rid of the white boys.
Hey, Gilbert, and you know what?
And the black men, at the end of the day, the Jehovah's Witnesses, Jesse, the white brothers and sisters, they understand the Constitution. Even though they're Jehovah's Witnesses and elders, there's something about, when I talk to some of them, they're Jehovah's Witnesses, but they love that First Amendment, free speech, freedom of religion. They have a loyalty, not a loyalty. They understand it a little bit. The new flock coming in, the ones that we served with, the elders that were coming in with the Spanish, they didn't know nothing about the First Amendment. Yeah.
Or like you talked about the deed, like the Menlo Park. The Menlo Park brothers. You think they were any Spanish congregation involved in Menlo Park? Think about it.
It was the white brothers and the black brothers. The white and black brothers, Americanized, knew right away what was happening.
Yes, because they understood private property. Let's say you come from a communist country. You already look down upon private property. You don't understand private property. You're not an American, but you want to reap the fruits of America. And you're going to be part of a Christian congregation, a 501c3. You're going to be in charge. This is what I'm saying. You're being replaced. You're being replaced by people who don't understand what property deeds mean. So The white man still runs the show. They're still the puppet masters. But the Joe Blows, they got rid of the white elders and they're replacing them with their world country elders. Their world country elders. Yeah.
Yeah. And Trudy's right, because this is a slow cancer. No crowded roads. People went to church on Sundays. Stores closed on Sunday in honor of church-going people. Days of peace, no wars, strong families. So yeah, it was incrementally done. It was incrementally done, and it wasn't just Watchtower. It was a lot of organizations. And to quote Darlene Smith, "The road to hell is paved with the 501c3." They were, they were the ones on the back.
They're the image of the beast. They were non-governmental organizations.
Mhm.
They're not a government organization, but they have a constitution.
Mhm.
They have bylaws. They have committees. They're set up like a government organization. They're set up to govern, but they don't not government.
Mhm.
They're an image of the beast.
They're not a beast. They're an image of the beast. Yeah.
Mhm.
So wow, that's all we have today for on a Sunday night. 1 hour, 10 minutes. 2 subjects. The 2 subjects were Spanish is America's future and how Watchtower was part of it. And the leaked insurance documents reveal that people were getting lots of money. And is Watchtower getting money?
We're asking the question. If there's a
We're
whistleblower that knows anything, not like we're going to listen to you because you're a rat bastard, but at least clear your conscience and come out and say it. Hey, we took some money because we deserve to know.
Mhm.
We're Jehovah's Witnesses.
Mhm.
And we want to know if we participate, if our brothers and sisters participated in getting money.
Mhm.
And that would be similar to Judas Iscariot receiving 30 pieces of silver.
Correct. Correct. So, you got anything else, Jesse?
No. Great questions, Gilbert, and comments at Trudy.
Yeah. Well,
She's
Vern
nailed-
too. Vern came up with some good.
Vern nailed it. Yes.
Yeah. He's letting you know what they're. And I like that quote that Vern said about Google says. Yeah. So he's right. Let me see if I can find it. Check this out. This is why Vern's quote was so good. Because according to Google, it won't happen in our lifetime. Google is like Watchtower. If Watchtower says to go east, you go west. So, man, he nailed it there. According to Google, it won't happen. So we know it is going to happen. We know that's not true. So that was I like that. Wow. But yeah, they're already admitting it. And like that picture showed, Joe Biden today said the quiet part out loud. Hi to the GG twins. All right. All right. So who do we have here? Dwight Flight, my brother Dwight Flight. And
I got to go. I'm going to fly.
all right, buddy. I'll let you go. All right, guys. I hope you liked the video. And remember, no liking and no subscribing. We don't need you guys to be liking. If you're going to follow somebody, follow Jesus. Follow somebody else. Don't follow me. Whatever you do, man, don't follow me. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one.